I'm Lily.
And I'm Jordan.
And we're the Drakes.
Welcome to Drake Academy. Feeling a little under the weather today, so if I sound a little bit off, that's probably why. But try to get through it as best we can. For today's episode, we're going to talk about, for our icebreaker, going over some of our favorite events from the year, just recounting some of the cool ones we did, the memorable moments of those events. Before we'll get into our main topic today, which is going over the Invitational. We'll talk through some of our highlights of our rounds. We'll talk through what the meta looked like, what we expected, what we didn't expect. I'll recount my absolute destruction in the top 16. And then Lily can recount some of her redemption round events.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, yeah.
Spoilers.
But yeah, so we'll talk through just what the Invi looked like and then what, kind of the next season we should expect. And then, of course, we will answer some audience questions like always. And we will then go over I don't think we're going to go over the meta Invi, but we will go over the Breach the Bay 2 in meta because it was a little bit bigger, a little bit less unique. Plus, interesting to see the decks that showed up and showed out in the kind of first, as far as I know, first large-scale test of the Haru system, which had some mixed results.
Yeah.
Before we do that, let's jump into our sponsor for today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Animal House Cards. This is a local game store in South Carolina. You can use their link in the TCG player below to shop their online selection for all your Magic sealed product and singles. They also sell miscellaneous Magic accessories that you can use to customize and make your deck your own. So definitely check them out. They've also got other cool stuff like Pokemon, One Piece cards. I think they have a little bit of assortment of everything. So, and if you're ever in South Carolina, check them out. It's a really cool spot in the mall there. Massive space, bigger than you'd expect for a place in the mall. But a really cool store and big supporters of the team. So definitely check them out. So the events for this year, like we've talked about on the show multiple times, there were a lot of them. Lily and I played in quite a few over this past season. A lot of them, I'm not going to lie to you guys, they're forgetful. They all blend together for me. I could not tell you, like 99% of my rounds, I could not tell you what happened if I went back and looked.
That's fair.
I have to use my Play Nice account quite often to like jog my memory of events that I've done. And even then, I think back on that round, I'll be like, I know I won. I don't know how I won.
Yeah.
Or like the losses stick out more to me than the wins.
I think if it's a win where I've done something cool and memorable, I'll do it. I'll remember it, right? And if it's a loss that really pissed me off, I'll remember it. Or if I really screwed up in some way, right? But for the most part, the losses don't even stick out either.
Yeah, I think my losses stick out more to me. Every time I lose a game in like a frustrating way,
Yes.
it sticks with me. But like even if I win through a cool line, I'll forget about it later.
Interesting.
Like it just doesn't stick. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you're forgetful.
Yeah,
You're also a goldfish.
That's true. That's very true. But the events that did stick out for this year for me, I think the highlight of my season, if we're not counting Breach the Bay, which was obviously awesome, which we'll get into later, is, I mean, the Boil 3 was a pretty awesome event. Obviously Wayne always puts on fantastic events, and I thought that event was really well done. I felt like he did a really good job there. And it was a cool moment for the team because it was our first time revealing the jerseys. It was our first time getting to do like the team event. And even though the team event was like kind of a little bit of a disaster, there was a lot of lessons learned. And I think the next team event was much smoother.
Right.
And then it was a very cool moment to watch Zeke, win the whole thing. The whole team's cheering him on. Like really awesome, fun, cool moment for everybody. And that's not something it's not something I expected. Like when the season started, right? Obviously Monolith didn't even exist in its capacity yet. Right? Like we were like, I wouldn't say halfway, partway through the season, maybe like 20% through the season when the cookout happened and all the drama from that happened. I mean, we're literally coming up on the cookout this weekend.
We are.
And it just shows you like how long it's been since the whole drama unfolded that last year.
Right.
And, what looked like the end of Monolith and then kind of the resurrection of Monolith all at the same time. And then how much it took off in the last year. Not just Monolith, right? But like the show too. This time last year, this show didn't exist. I was still doing Colors Are a Crutch, I believe.
Yeah, the cookout didn't implode, the drama didn't implode everything until like October. So
Was the cookout in October last year?
I believe it was. And so you were still doing content creation for Colors at that point. And I wasn't really on the internet anymore because the channel that I kind of, tangentially was on imploded as well. So we weren't really doing the whole content creation thing together.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, like even when I think back on it, like a lot has happened in this past season. But that event was kind of the culmination of all the pain we went through, and then all the late nights trying to rebuild the team and create something create what it is today.
Yeah.
And the Boyle 3, I think, was like I wouldn't even say it was the culmination, right? Because I think that's not necessarily honest, but it is the first moment where we felt like
it was like
we made it.
It was the first breakout moment where it was like, oh shit, this Monolith stuff is actually real. We're not just a bunch of like nerds in jerseys. This is something legit.
I mean, we still are a bunch of nerds in jerseys, but yes, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't know. I think one of my favorite events, some of my standouts are the Ohio events. So Tabby really sticks in my head and Misplay really sticks in my head. Even though I didn't do particularly well, I just think they were like really fun events. I think I bubbled Tabby, so that's like par for the course for this season for me. I'm hoping to leave that energy behind, but I don't know. Those events stick out, and the Land Go Invi in Nashville really sticks out for me.
Okay.
It's like well-run, fun events.
Yeah.
LobbyCon in Nashville was also great. I don't know. Sometimes LobbyCon is more fun for me than like the rounds themselves.
I don't think that's surprising.
Yeah, like just jamming with people. Occasionally alcohol may or may not be involved. Allegedly. Yeah, I don't know. Like LobbyCon in Nashville was a lot of fun, and that sticks out to me too.
Yeah. I still think like Tabby was really fun.
Yeah.
Especially night before, I was giggling like an idiot the whole night.
Yes.
Because that was the first night I'd ever played my Terra deck, and it was like just popping off insanely well.
Yeah, I remember that.
We were
in that little game store in that little strip mall in like bumfuck Ohio.
And that whole weekend was so chaotic.
It was
like a 1 day 7-round tournament, and it actually finishing before 2 a.m. was wild.
It was.
And yeah, just like at the last second, I was like, you know what, screw it. This deck was fun the night before. I'm just gonna play Terra today, and then doing pretty well on it, like losing my winning in
top. Oh, you were close to top 16.
I was very close. I punted round 6, lost round 7.
That's right.
Godliest god hand of all time from a Kinnan.
That was that Kinnan game.
Also, premature fuck Kinnan.
Premature fuck Kinnan.
There's going to be a lot of that on this episode today.
Yeah, there have been tweets and Discord messages going around saying, I wonder how much Drake Academy is going to say fuck Kinnan. So the count for this episode is 3 so far, and we're not that far in.
Don't make it a drinking game. You will die.
No, drinking game. Take a shot every time we say it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's going to be bad for your health. Promise.
Pause the video when you black out and return.
Oh my God, Lily, that's terrible. I don't think you can say that.
I think I can say that.
That was a really fun event. I do think Misplay was really cool. The Invi was not as much fun for me. I don't know if it's because I was so busy doing other stuff or if it was because I just did not have a fun tournament. I think my deck performed abysmal.
See, I can set those aside. Like, Malcolm Vile also... I don't even think Malcolm Vile pissed me off. My games just pissed me off, but it was the LobbyCon and the vibe for me more than I did so well.
That's fair. That's fair. I did chuck Chris Glade's very real, but not knowing it was real, Cavernous Souls across the room. I thought that shit was fake. I thought it was a proxy.
Yeah.
I took it and I chucked it, and he's like, that was real. And I was like, oh, God.
That's also the event where we sat there at the Airbnb table with 7-Eleven slushies at 2 a.m. with Hayward and Glade.
No, gotcha.
Yeah, like I don't know. The event just had really good vibes, and like the lobby con and everything after was just really fun. I don't know.
That's fair. Those were some fun times.
Yeah.
Any other events stick out to you? Anything local?
Oh, anything local? I don't know. For me, I love the Gathering Place tournaments. They do all blend together after a minute.
They do. I was trying to remember if there's any tournament that really sticks out for me, is like, especially one where I beat you.
Rude.
You know?
Rude.
Did I beat you in any top fours this year? I don't think you got in any. I don't think we were in the top four together.
Anytime, yeah. We always alternated.
Even when we were in the top four together, we never.
No.
We never.
We would have been in that top four of that silver event, but that split.
What's the one that we did where we silenced Hayward 6 times? That was funny.
Force fight.
Yes.
Force fight.
It was not force fight.
The encounter.
The encounter.
That
was fun because I beat you in the top 16.
All right, segment over. Anyway, guys, we're moving on from that.
I had to think of one where it was like out rounds and I got you. Oh, Chris's event. Mana in the Bank 2. There's another one. Was there any others? Let me think. I think it might have just been those two. Probably just those two. I'll have to look, but there's got to be more.
Anyway, guys, Authentic Gaia's Cradle for sale. Please DM me if you would like Jordan's Cradle. He'll sign it. No, he won't.
I mean, I'll sign it, but I'm keeping it. I'll sign my own Cradle.
No, I'm selling your Gaia's Cradle for that.
I can't believe how much Cradles have already gone up.
Right.
Guys, I don't know what to tell y'all, but Magic card prices have been crazy lately. I feel like everything's doubled.
Anyway, ban Gaia's Cradle.
That's crazy. Guy's Cradle literally made me $500 this weekend. I'll have you know.
Yeah, ban Gaia's Cradle.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. My Cradle. If they ban Gaia's Cradle, they have to ban so many other cards with it.
Not necessarily.
Necropotence is worse than Cradle.
No.
Yes.
No.
100%.
Never.
I haven't even seen Necro win lately. Like, that's the whole argument for Necro is that it should win.
Terrible argument.
Okay,
ban Necro, but it doesn't win that many games.
I have also seen Cradle not win lately.
Okay, that's not true.
It is true. We played against a Rock Thrash and a TNT with my Dog Thrash, and those two Cradle decks didn't win.
What were they doing?
Losing to me.
What were you on?
I didn't have a Cradle until the final turn. I'll have you know.
Okay.
I'll have you know.
Okay.
I was beating them with dorks.
Cope.
It was all dorks all the time.
Jordan's coping, guys.
If you say so. I also beat, what is it? I made top 4 of CCS without my Cradle. Wait, is that true? That might not be true.
That doesn't sound true.
I might be lying on that one.
Yeah.
Because I went infinite with Derevi, so I guess I would have had to have Cradle, huh? But I didn't have any
Funny how that combo works.
I didn't have any other win cons in the deck.
Sure.
I said I'd keep tapping everybody down and swinging up.
I remember that game. You did things the complicated way.
Well, that's what happens when you... Did I Demcon? I think I did Demcon.
You Demconned your wins
That's why
away.
I cut Demcon.
Because afterwards, the judge walked up to me. I Demconned in my top 16 game, and they said if I had a nickel for every time I saw a Drake Demcon away all their win cons, I would have 2 nickels this top 16. And I was like, man, what happened to Jordan?
Turns out, even though all my win cons were gone, Derevi tapping everybody down forever and ever and then hitting them in the face does eventually kill everybody.
Pretty rude.
Yeah, I only had like 15 damage to this shot, but I was like 15, and then I think everyone scooped. Everyone saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
But pretty funny way to get somebody. Oh wait, I got somebody with the City of Brass thing. The one guy who could stop me, I got him with the City of Brass thing. I love that trick. And I watched it happen. The first time I ever learned about it was I watched it happen to Lily.
Yeah, I'm aware.
What a funny way to
Explains
do
the
it.
forlorn look in my eyes.
So, yeah, some good events this year. A lot of fun to be had. I think across a lot of the tournaments. Even when I think back, there's only a couple tournaments that stick out as like really bad experiences. And the only one that I like truly regret going to was the Midseason Invitational. Like legitimately, that's the only tournament I regret going to.
No, that's valid.
Every other tournament was like
valid.
Every other tournament that I had like a negative experience, I didn't regret going because a lot of times the negative experience was because of games that happen. Like, so here's a good example, right? shoot, what tournament was it? I want to say it was something. Maybe it wasn't this year. Maybe it was last year. No, it had to have been this year. It was the one where I took Rock Dress, but maybe that was last year's. Before last year's Invi? Maybe it was before last year.
Was
maybe
that an AGL event? When AGL was still doing
No, I don't think so. It was some small local around here where I just got...
Oh, that was the Timmy Max event. I took Blue Farm to that. I remember that
Yeah,
event.
because you top 4. I got absolutely bodied, but every game was miserable.
I think that was technically this season because I was still on farm.
I was trying to think if it was.
I think it was technically this season.
Like at the beginning?
At the beginning,
That was a tournament that was absolutely miserable. Not because of the store, not because like... Every game was just not fun because every player in that store was basically like anti-Rogdrass, which I had no idea walking into that situation. And every game was basically like, you don't get to do anything. Mm-hmm. I remember there was a game where the Ristic Study player had Ristic, Smothering Tithe, and something else. And the other guy still counted my crop rotation. And I was like, seriously, bro? Like, we are losing to Blue Farm. And he's like, I won't lose to Rogdrass again. And I was like, my bad. I don't know what I was doing bringing this deck. Mobby.
I remember that.
Mobby.
You were pressed after that game. You were legitimately angry.
It's what actually has made me on the anti-Rogdrass train.
That's
why I've never picked the deck back up. Because
I can see that.
Whenever I play TNT, I've never been blown out so hard in a game. Ever, like on TNT. But that, oh my God. And even the one time I was blown out hard, right? The game where I had 7 lands and nothing else, I still won.
You still had to win, yeah.
Because TNT is dumb.
Yes, TNT is dumb.
Rogdrass won't your win there. Pray I top deck Breach. I had 2 cards in hand. And pray one of them is Breach. You know what I mean? Like, but TNT, I don't know. We just had it.
Yeah.
One of the 2 cards was Vamp Tutor. Can't Vamp Tutor in Rogdrass.
True.
And there ain't no creature tutor that wins the game there.
I think one of my most frustrating rounds this season was the I can see the store in my head. ECG, East Coast Gaming, where I had Leyline, Mayhem Devil, Malcolm. I'd done the thing. I'd done it.
I already know where this is going.
Yeah, I know. I'd done it. It resolved. Everybody was actively losing. And somebody says play it out. And I'm just like... sacrifice ping, what do we mean here? There's no more spells to be had. It's not, there's not heuristic. I mean, I think I had heuristic study. I'm like, I don't understand. So I start killing off the person that says play it out because what are you cooking? And then at the very end of me doing that, they tap their Ancient Tomb and I only had 1 treasure and I wasn't able to make the final treasure. And they cuck my combo, forcing the game into a draw. And I was legitimately angry after that round. I was just like, no, I'm done. Nobody look at me. Nobody talk. I'm done. I'm selling out of this stupid baby card game. I'm done. I'm fed up. And I think that was another one where I bubbled. The draw, I was like a point away or what have you. The draw did absolutely nothing for me. I needed another win.
Yeah.
And it was just... God, was that frustrating.
I remember the look on your face after that game.
I was legitimately angry.
That was not a fun tournament for me either.
No, that was not a fun tournament, like whatsoever.
For different reasons. Similar reasons.
I have horrible luck at ECG though. I don't know what it is about my games there. Everybody, I don't know if it's like the Rogdrass thing you just described where somebody's come through and traumatized them with Malcolm. Or maybe I'm somebody that's traumatized people. I don't know. But I don't get an inch there.
I'm trying to think. I think I've won a tournament there once, and then I've had 2 very rough top 16s there.
Yeah.
I feel like I have really bad place. I have bad luck at the gathering place.
I have good luck there.
Yeah, I know. Like, we flip-flop.
We really do.
Because, like, I've had some good experiences there where I've definitely won tournaments, but I think some of my absolute worst moments in CEDH have all happened at TGP.
Some of my most impressive Malcolm Vile cooks have been at TGP.
Well, like, I think about, like, the first one, right, where you blew me out for a time twister.
Yeah. And I do it again.
And probably lost.
And I do it again.
The one where I was winning on the stack, and it was going to be my first ever tournament win, and then the whole thing got messed up by the pact negation that was forgotten.
Yeah.
And I was very, very salty about that.
Yeah.
My first, I thought was going to be my first ever tournament win the second time only for the dude to like top deck the absolute one card that saved him against my Niv. Because like I thought I'd played that game perfectly, and he top decked the only card that saved him.
Yeah.
Which was just like, that's my luck a lot of times. Yeah. If there is a lucky god when it comes to Magic, like the in-play, it's not on my side.
If it's like Fallout stats, you have like a 1 luck.
Only when playing Magic, though. I feel like outside of Magic, I feel like I'm pretty lucky in life. Like, for the most part. I don't know. Kind of depends. It depends on what you mean. I think I have average luck in real life.
Okay.
In Magic, it's a fucking 1, though. Okay, just like to tell you, preview for the big topic. Actually, no. You know, let's just get into the main topic so that I can talk about this stupid story.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so frustrating. So yeah, we will shift from here into our main event.
Yeah.
Our main topic today is going to be brought to you by Heavy Play. You can go to heavyplay.com/monolith or use code monolith when checking out for 10% off your order. These are some of the best deck boxes, play mats you can get. I really love the magnetized system. It's really, really convenient, nice to use, super, super convenient, really, really easy. If you've seen me around at a tournament, I'm just carrying around a playmat and my deck box magnetized to it. I don't have to carry around a backpack or anything else. So that's been super nice to have, and I really love the product. It's very high quality, really well made. They also have these really cool art versions that you can check out. Really just great products, and let them know that we sent you. So our main topic is going to be going over the Invitational, obviously the big event of the year out in California. Lily and I played alongside what turned out to be, we thought it was going to be 80, but 2 players ended up not showing. So it ended up being the 78 of the top players theoretically in the world, but reality, it's just the U.S. I don't think any players came from outside the United States. So not really the world champion, but the national championships, I guess, is probably a more apt description,
Yes.
I'd say. But anyway, alongside the Breach the Bay 2 event, which had 430-ish players, maybe just a little under 430, which I've heard and read online is the biggest event in West Coast history, which is really awesome. That's what
That's so
read.
cool.
I don't know if it's true. I think it's true.
I think it's true.
There are not that many events that have ever happened in CEDH that are over 400.
No.
You know, I would imagine Breach the Bay's got to be top 5 largest event of all time.
Easy. Yeah, for sure.
And we'll talk about Breach the Bay a little bit too. But getting into the Invi, so they did increase the size this year from 64 to 80 players. And then, of course, 2 players not showing made it 78. I did not personally feel like that made a difference at all in the points that were needed. Oh, they also changed the scoring a little bit. They changed it from 5 points for a win to 7. And the idea was because last year at the Invitational, somebody got in on 106 over a 2, whatever 16 is, with 2 wins. What is that? 10? No. I don't know.
Was it 15? No.
No, it had to have been, what's 6 plus 5? 11. 11 points got in last year.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We can math, but not very well.
We can.
So yeah, it was 2 wins, 2 draws. No, 2 wins, a draw, and whatever amount of losses.
Yeah.
So the idea was they never want it to be a situation where somebody, because the first tiebreaker is opposition win percentage. So it doesn't matter how many wins you have. It's about points and opposition win percentage. They changed the points this year so where that was statistically impossible, right? There's no way that someone with 2 wins can ever be got by somebody with a win in all draws. So that changed. I don't think that changed anything either. I didn't notice players playing any differently because of the points.
No, people were still playing for draws, shockingly enough.
In my games. So here's the thing. I was never the person that put a draw on the stack. It felt like in any of my games.
Right.
In game 1, I was forced to do a draw position by... Actually, I'm trying to remember my game 1. So what was game 1? Game 1 is like completely slipping out of my brain. I can remember game 2. So I'll skip game 1 because I can't remember it right now. Game 2, I played against Waffle and Jason. That game got very talky very quickly, as I'm sure everyone can imagine.
Right.
Tyam was actually winning. Z from Crit was kicking our butts pretty much. It felt like it was a 1v1 with me and him. Evan and Jason both went down super low on their moles. And we're pretty much, I would say mostly non-factors, other than like having interaction and then having like ways to interact later. But an oof came down, a deafening silence came down from Tyam, and that kind of just locked the two of them out from really playing the game or going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so they were top decking basically the whole game. And I was in a pretty commanding position. It felt like it really did feel like a 1v1. The funny thing is I had the Brewmaster win like early behind if I remember right, behind even a silence effect. The problem was the oof stopping my win attempt just kind of hosed me. So then I was just in this awkward spot of like trying to figure out how to get around the oof. But as soon as I figured out a way to get around the oof, Jason had like 30 treasures under a smothering tithe. Evan still had a ton of mana to like start doing Kinnan things. It was nightmare game. Right. Got to the point where I felt like I was holding my ground pretty good against like forcing a draw here, but ultimately we just couldn't really not draw. Like that's just where we were when it was all said and done. So we drew. Yeah. Game. I feel like there's a gap in my games here because I can't remember the other draw either. Oh, no, I do. I was playing against the kids. I played against Jason Dexter, and that game just ended up in a draw. There was a big fight on the stack. I had a win over top, but never
would have resolved.
There was never a point. So, I do remember this game. This is the game that pissed me off. So, early on in this game, I skipped ahead. Early on in this game, I actually was in a winning position. I was under a voice of victory. I had a pretty decent board state. I had the survival, the fittest line in my hand. And all the mana to do it.
Nice.
So when it got to my turn...
Oh, I know this game.
I swung... I needed to draw a creature, right? I have survival. I have all the mana to do it.
You told me about this game.
I just need to draw a creature. I have 4 draws that I'm going to get. My draw for turn, and I'm going to get 3 off of Tymna because there's no feasible way for them to block all my attackers. And I do draw 4 cards during this turn. Not a single one of them is a creature or a bounce spell. The statistical probability of this, our resident statistician, actually he's a theoretical mathematician?
Man, I don't know. It's Stacko.
Yeah, Stacko, former math professor, mathed it out for me. And I had I can't remember if it was 89 or 91. It was some disgustingly high.
I think you said 89.
I think so too. The more I've retold the story, the number keeps changing though, because I can't remember.
Sure.
But it was in the high 80s, low 90s, somewhere in there. So, yeah.
Yeah, luck stat 1 in CEDH.
Yeah, so painful. Like even thinking about it. And that should have been a win.
Yeah.
I had set up the board beautifully. Obviously, by that point, at some point, the voice victory gets snapped. And he gets countered on the way back down. And then that's where the big stack battle happens later in the game.
Of course.
Everyone's got everything. I have a win over top that's never going to resolve. So we draw. Game 4, I played against Austin from Crit. And I played against... Who did I play against? Wait, am I getting players confused here now?
Probably.
I might be getting players confused.
Was that the double Raw Gishai?
That was the double Raw Gishai game.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting names and people confused. Either way, I did not look.
I saw you sitting with Austin for the double Raw Gishai game.
Yeah. Either way, double Raw Gishai. Y'all can imagine how this game went.
A draw, obviously.
Yeah. There's no shot at this game being anything but a draw. Austin and I were laughing the whole time because I'm literally sitting on a win that is never going to resolve. I have another flash speed win. And there's never going to be a time in this stack battle that this card is ever going to land and actually matter.
Right.
So the whole time I'm just tracking Storm. Austin and I are joking and laughing. At one point, he's like, Jordan's just trying to win over top of the Brewmaster. I'm like, brother, I'm tracking Storm. Like, what do you think I'm doing here? I'm like,
waiting to win.
I'm like, oh God, he called me out. I'm just gonna keep tracking Storm. Don't look over here.
It's the Jordan Drake special.
Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
You never win on your turn.
So we finally get to the end of the game. Again, no shot. This game is ending in a draw, right? And so at the end, I'm like, all right, you called it. I threw the Brewmaster down. He's like, I knew it. I knew you had it.
Predictable.
So I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Round 5, I finally get a win. Finally. I don't remember exactly how. I remember a GA came down.
That'll do it.
And Andy was, because Andy Beach was in the pod, and he was on Raw Shy, and I think he had a way to stop me, but didn't really matter because there was no way to stop the blue farm player either. And we both had win. So Andy was just like, well, I guess.
Was that the game where you cucked Eric?
Yes. Yeah, I did unfortunately have to hit
Team kill.
I did unfortunately hit my teammate Eric and watched him Rog side it up, and then we stopped the Rog side.
Run into the wall of interaction, and then
it was the
win.
It was the Ranger Cap. We both had to yap the blue farm player.
Sure.
I feel like it was blue farm. I'm gonna say it was blue farm, even if I'm wrong. We both had to yap him into different plays. If he casts the GA, Eric wins on the spot, which is initially what he wanted to do. I cocked him into casting the Ranger Captain out of his hand and passing, which gave us a better shot at living through the turn. And Eric's argument was, well, you're not going to win if that happens anyway. And my argument was,
not wrong.
You guarantee lose if you play the GA, because it's going to get countered, and Andy has a bounce spell for anything else that happens. Like, the dude could not beat our interaction. Or you have you play the Ranger Captain, you go a couple more rounds. Like, maybe TNT wins in the long run, but Farm can also freaking win. It's Farm.
Right.
So, at least I think it was Farm. I think it had to have been Farm because of Ranger Captain. Either way, sorry. So I think both of our arguments were sound, but when you're talking about losing in an out round, like right away, why would you do that to yourself? So
yeah,
I did out-politic Eric there, and then unfortunately had to beat him into the dirt.
It's funny. You walked up to me after. You're like, I Jordan Draked them. I got them to listen to me.
I did. No, the real Jordan Draking came in round 6, where I got
people started showing their hands.
I did.
Please stop showing this man your hand.
No, please keep doing it.
Please stop.
To be fair.
I've said this to enough people on the internet at this point. Stop.
To be fair. We were trying to figure out if we could stop Atali. But while finding out if we could figure out how to stop Atali, I found out they couldn't stop my Grand Ball.
Jordan's just mining you guys. Stop it.
I give out information too. This isn't a one-way street. There's a two-way.
Did you go hand for hand?
Well, no. I'm not gonna show that.
Selective 2 little cards that aren't scary. Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair, I would have gone hand for hand, so you could see that he was.
Okay, sure.
If he'd have been like, "Here's what I got, and I'll show him what I got," he'd probably would have looked at my hand and been like, "Uh-oh." I've been like, "Yeah, buddy." But yeah, no, I did indeed see the only interaction that was at the table to stop me. And yeah, there was nothing. No one had anything. So GA's a good card, turns out. Yeah. I know a lot of people cut it.
I told you not to cut it.
But
too good.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that card. Gilded Drake also put in a lot of work this weekend. I stole a lot of good cards.
Okay. Okay.
That was another really good MVP.
Yeah.
There's GA, Gilded Drake. Queen of Dale was pretty strong.
Really?
I did enjoy Queen of Dale.
Okay.
Gleaming Splendor didn't really come up. It was the other new card I added. If you've looked at my list, we'll actually talk about it because I changed Tree Farm up pretty heavily for this event. Dropping Ranger Captain was a decision that I was not sure about. But the idea was indie players love to bully each other into cracking Ranger Captains. And after seeing Ranger Captains this weekend, I can tell you that's exactly what was happening. Everyone kept trying to bully everyone into cracking Ranger Captains. Players were refusing to. It was just a mess. So I have no regret cutting that card for this specific event. But honestly, I didn't miss it either.
Yeah. It's almost too political of a piece, like there are some things like GA, right? Whatever, it's going to start the stack battle.
Sure.
But more often than not, Ranger Captain resolves and then people just try to either force the issue or over threat assess you because of the Ranger Captain and somebody else wins.
Yeah, 100%. It's a card that is... It's frustrating because it almost has like the Lavinia effect, right? Where if it sticks around too long, it just feels like it's losing you the game.
Yep.
So, I agree that the card is interesting, and of course really powerful. But I did not miss it. I also cut the Thoracle package, which wasn't sure about because just having an I win button is so good, and Thoracle gets you out of so many weird situations, right? Like a Curse Totem comes down, and you're like, uh-oh, I'm locked out all my win cons. And then the
Still
Oracle.
have Thoracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing is, though, in TNT, you're just never really locked out all your win cons because
True.
of all the artifact stuff that you do.
True.
So it's fine. Like, I've won plenty of games winning the Recurse Totem. So I felt like comfortable cutting that package because we still have an I win button with Swift Recon and Devoted Druid. That's very cheap still. So that was the thought. Wasn't too sure about it, but it didn't end up feeling bad. Trying to think what else. We did go up on Abrupt Decay to help with some of the creature decks. I expected more weird creature decks. We'd heard Shang-Chi was going to be there, which it was.
It was there.
It was there. There were 2 of them, actually.
Yeah.
I was expecting some slop, so I did have some tools for that. Like the Oculus, I think, is my best anti-slop tool still, which of course I still ran. I talked about cutting it, but the last second I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
You love that little eyeball.
He's just so good for what you're trying to do, right? Like,
For sure.
like it's just hard to justify. Yeah, I explored Opposition Agent and chose not to run him, which I think was smart because Oppo would not have done too much, I think, this weekend. I'm trying to think what else was kind of like a meta call. I think those are like the big ones.
That makes sense.
That I can think of. I didn't really make too big a shifts. Oh, adding Magus and Shang-Chi to the deck and Formidable Speaker back.
Of course.
But those just have felt fantastic.
Yeah.
The play pattern of going Formidable Speaker into Shang-Chi, and then especially if you already have the Cradle out, right? Immediately untapping Cradle again. Chef's kiss.
I mean, Shang-Chi is a busted magic card.
Yeah, especially combined with things like Formidable Speaker to untap your Cradle, it just goes so hard.
Right.
And Magus is a dumb magic card when you combine it with like something like a Shang-Chi where you can go quickly.
Right.
So it's not dead late. But also just getting it early feels good because then, if you get, especially if you get a Biofam or a Training Grounds out, now you're tapping, or now when you do the Magus effect, I'm spending 1 mana to untap 3 lands, which feels really good.
Yeah, pretty good.
So ends up being a really fantastic piece. Plus, you can do all sorts of weird infinite combos with him and Emil because of Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
I mean, you can also just go infinite with Biofam and Shang-Chi, but people don't know that.
Broken magic card.
Yeah, so then to my outround. This was, if y'all watched, I was on the stream game for the top 16, regrettably, because once again, as was foretold years past, as it happened last year, not quite the same way, but I did lose to Sterling again in top 16, again, of the Invi, again. This time, though, I did not punt the game away, because last year I totally punted what should have probably been my win. If I don't cast that Force of Will, I win that game.
Yeah.
This year, I never had a chance.
Yeah.
There was nothing I could have done. Sterling walked all over us. That deck he created, or his friend Foster created, and he ran and just kind of took it on a whim, just rolled through all of us. But still, had a fun game still. We were laughing. I mean, what else could you do, right? Like,
I mean, everybody said the vibes in that top 16 were impeccable. So, like, when you're getting steamrolled that bad, like, what else do you do but just like set the vibe?
I will say
and meme the whole game.
I was not looking forward to this event. Like, I'm not even in front with you guys.
Sure.
I was not looking forward to the Invitational. I had such a miserable experience at the midseason where every game was not fun. I wouldn't say every game. Most of my games were not fun. Every game felt very much like everyone was waiting to bite each other's heads off. Just weird moments, weird vibes that whole tournament.
Sure.
And so I worried that this tournament would feel very similar. Last season Invitational, there were some weird games as well. You just kind of expect it to be like hyper political and sweaty, right? Like that's
100%.
That's what you expect. I laughed so much this weekend though. Like between Austin and I goofing off and a game that didn't matter. I fist bumped a guy who out-politicked me in a game. Like, I was like, nice. Like, that's cool. Laughing in the game with Sterling. Like, my cheeks hurt. My sides hurt. I was cramping pretty hard by the end of the whole thing. I had a good time, actually, which I was not expecting.
Right.
From the games themselves. Like, I figured I'd have a good time with all the ancillary stuff that wasn't the Invitational, but I actually had, walking away from my 7 games of Magic, I had actually had fun playing Invitational Magic.
Yeah.
Which I was not expecting. And I started 004, which is exactly what I did expect. I did expect that. I did expect to draw a bunch. And then, Sterling winning the whole thing. A really awesome event a really awesome moment. Sorry for him. You know, it's cool to be able to be there to cheer him on and get to, you know, give him a big hug when he won and the whole team coming together and whooping and hollering. And that was cool. That was really cool. And, you know, special moment for him. And, you know, you know, big moment for the team as well. Like it's both, right? Like legitimately great for the individual, great for the team. Kind of just shows like all the work we've put in with the team, with Monolith, kind of coming to fruition. A lot of our players played very, very well. You know, getting so many people in the Invitational. We had 3 players get in the Open. All 3 players made top 64, and then one of our players made top 4.
Right.
So we had a player in top 4 of both events. One won, one unfortunately molded 2, which happens, right?
It'd be that way, yeah.
But really just cool moment for Monolith as a whole, and it does feel like we achieved a lot of what we wanted to do for this season. So overall, pretty fun. But what about you? I know your main event wasn't so good, but you have a good redemption.
Yeah. I'll quickly go through the main event just because, like, I don't know, the Invi's probably always worth talking about. But for me, my round 1, and I'm not going to do a deck breakdown of every round, but this one is just particularly heinous for me. So it was Atali, Kinnan, Thrasvile, and myself. I started the day in seat 4, which is already
A bad sign.
diabolical for Grixis, right? And I'm already not happy about starting in seat 4, but it is what it is. I'm playing with Varix, which was pretty fun, and him and I always have fun games together. So, you know, that was at least cool. And I got to see him pilot Thrasvile as well, which was pretty cool. But basically what happens is I go to 4. I believe I mulligan to 4. And I keep a hand that'll get me a fish and a turn 2 Malcolm.
Okay.
Into an Atali and a Thrasvile. And I'm thinking, okay, this has to be good enough, right?
Pretty good.
And I'm thinking, okay, I may not win this game, but if this starts as a draw, even if we're able to force it into a draw, whatever, drawing round 1 isn't that deep. We'll keep going. And so when I cast the fish, the Kinnan commandeers it.
Fuck Kinnan. I didn't even say fuck Kinnan I didn't even say fuck Kinnan during mine.
And so, yeah, for my story count, here's my first fuck Kinnan, right? And Kevin had already revealed he's casting Ristic on 2, because for me it was going to be turn 1 fish, turn 2 Malcolm, and pray from there. And that's usually good enough to get back in the game in my deck, right? Kinnan commandeers the fish on my seat 4, mold a 4.
Why?
With Kevin revealing I'm going to cast Ristic Study on my turn 2.
That's a crazy misplay.
So Kevin had to demcon a decent chunk of his library to get to the Ristic Study. And so I think it was threat assessed as me having
fish would
a
be
majority of my library, and drawing cards would be worse. So Kevin can keep the Ristic Study because we saw Brain Freeze and a couple of other crucial pieces go. However, Thassa's did not go. And I think foreshadowing, right? And I think that is my issue, and that is something I should have pointed out more. And maybe something I should have talked about more at that point. Like, hey, Thassa's is still live in his deck. Now, he did have to use the Demcon, and he went through the Tainted Pact on the Demcon.
Sure.
So it isn't clean, but it is still there, and Breach is still there.
Plus you're a Thrasios deck, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So there is still something to do. And I think I should have pointed out that Thassa's wasn't gone, and that was my bad. But I was just so surprised at the commandeer. Like, really? Like that
Still feels like a misplay to me, right? Like
this is what we're doing.
I'd rather have the Ristic engine.
Yeah.
Especially
100%.
especially since I don't care about a fish in C4, like that's gonna go away eventually.
100%. Yeah. And so, and I mean, like the guy that commandeered it didn't win the game, right? Atali does what Atali does. They pushed recklessly into the draw engines. They ran headlong into interaction, and then
Always do. Yes.
And then Kevin smoked the shit out of us because he had a Zoristic Study that was fed by a turbo player. And, you know, I was basically a passenger in that game after I got commandeered. And the Kinnan player at one point looked at me and asked, like, hey, do you have anything? And I was just like, don't even with me. Stop that. Don't even right now. Don't ask if I have anything. So that was that game. When my Invi started like that, it was just like, oh, okay, cool. This is my vibe. All right, this is not my Invi. My round 2 was streamed. I also believe I mulled low. I did have agency in that game. My draw engine landed. I had interaction, but it just got to a point where they countered the only scary thing that I tried to do on my turn. I think they countered my tutor, and I was like, okay, cool, we'll draw, because I used all my interaction stopping the Shang-Chi.
Gotcha.
So that was that. Round 3 was a loss to... I don't even remember who this loss was to at this point. I think that was my Oswald Fiddlebender loss.
Oh, yeah.
So that was either round 3 or round 4. They're kind of blending together in my head, but basically that game was with Sasquatch, and we worked to stop Blakey.
He was on TNT, right?
He was.
Crazy.
We worked to stop Blakey on Ral, countered his wheel, Oswald untaps and wins. And it was like, oh, well. But then we were like, oh, should we have countered your wheel, Blakey? Could we have let that go? He reveals the 7, and it was gas. So it was like, okay, we were dying to Ral, or we were dying to Oswald. Got it. We didn't have a choice. We could only interact with one thing, and it is what it is.
Do you know what Sasquatch's TNT was?
He had Adnaz in it. I know there was Adnaz in there.
It was like Jarman's, so like the Turbo TNT stuff.
I think so. With still the generically good TNT things.
Sure.
He did Esper, Lotho, some door. Like,
Yeah,
he just did the generic
You still do all the generic
TNT
stuff.
situation that game.
Just sprinkle in a little nose.
Yeah, let's bring a little Nas. A little Nas as a treat. So, yeah, that was that loss. There's another loss in there. I don't recall. Oh, this one. Okay, this one is particularly heinous. I will go through this one play by play. I believe this is my round. I'm going to call this round 3. I don't know if it was actually round 3, but we're going to call it round 3.
I thought we were just on round 3.
I think the Blakey game was round 4. So we're going to call this loss round 3.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. They were losses. So it's TNT, Reagan on Blue Farm. Oh, TNT, Menomenon, Reagan on Blue Farm, myself. And
I did, yes.
Yeah. And so it gets to a point where TNT has Seedborn. They have everything. Menomenon isn't really doing anything in this game. I didn't really understand their hand in that game, but they were just kind of a passenger after a certain point. They cast Menomenon, and then they were a passenger, and so...
They didn't chew you off?
No.
Were there Mystic studies?
No.
Oh, weird.
I didn't understand that hand, but nonetheless. And then Reagan and I mulled pretty low. So TNT is just absolutely smoking the shit out of us. And it gets to a point where there's a Razaketh in hand, like, he has everything, right? Yeah. And I show Reagan a Necro and a PFB, and I'm like, this has to resolve, right? And it's our only chance of... maybe a draw, maybe I'm able to win. I don't know, right? But her and I are just face up with each other at this point because I think we're seats 3 and 4. I don't think our seating was good, but I could be incorrect about that. But her and I were so similarly situated. It was like, we have no use but to share information here.
Sure.
So since everything is revealed off Thrasios, we know exactly what interaction we have to bait out of TNT's hand to get either the PFB or the Necro to resolve, because I have enough treasures off PFB for it to be helpful. Okay. And I bait all of the interaction perfectly. The Ranger Captain crack, everything is sequenced really well. And it gets to a point where TNT cracks Lion's Eye Diamond, bins their Razaketh, leaves a black floating, rips Reanimate off the top. And they cloned my Valley Flood Caller, which I stole from Reagan. So he had Flash to reanimate it. And I think he Mindbreak trapped. I don't remember how he got rid of my stack. No, he Force of Negged my Necro. And then the stack was basically done from there. And it was that was my Invi, right? The one thing that you can rip right here. Because I knew what I was doing, right? I knew he'd probably crack LED. I understood where we were at on the stack. But I had to... rip it and say, we ball. I have to hope that you don't find it.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds, right?
Exactly.
You cracked the LED and looking for exactly one card and you just happen to hit it.
Exactly.
I mean, what are the odds?
Exactly. And so between that and the Commandeer in such close succession, I was just like, God, this is awful. So, then we got lost to Oswald and then lost to Thrasvile, and it was just like, oh, okay, cool. This is what it is. But I don't know. I still had fun. They were still interesting games. It was still fun seeing what other people's decks do. I got to see Shang-Chi. I got to see Rona. So I got to see a lot of interesting decks that I didn't expect at the Invi. So I'm not too stressed about it. Like going.
I got to see that Rhoda deck too.
Yeah.
I mean, we all died very quickly, so I didn't really get to see it, but I did see it.
Yeah.
Technically.
And like going into the Invi, you're gonna have to scratch and claw for any point, any win. Like you know what I mean? It's not an easy event, so I just kind of went in saying, "Screw it, this is what it is." And I unfortunately just felt like my luck stat was at 1, and if someone could rip something against me, they would.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the interesting things about this Invi was last year's Invi. It was very blue farm heavy.
Yes.
It was very top heavy, right? It was a lot of blue farm, a lot of Roggrass, a lot of Kinnan, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And the blue farms dominated. Absolutely dominated everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
This year, I felt like people brought more weird off-meta stuff.
They did.
Right? Like,
They did.
you were talking about Manon, Rona. Right? I actually want to go back. We had a master internal monolith spreadsheet.
Oh, we were so wrong.
Predicting people's decks.
Our internal data was so wrong.
I don't think it was that far off, but I do have to go back and look to see like where we were with everything.
Yeah.
But like, we clocked certain people running decks that they did not end up running.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure we said Pigeon will bring Raoul. Like there's no way he's gonna actually run the Shang-Chi deck.
No,
he
did it.
We heard that Shang-Chi was out there and he was thinking about it, but I thought Rao he'd still bring Rao, but turns out Rao was also just a poor matchup in this. So
Turbo, yeah.
Maybe a good call.
Yeah.
The rock size all struggled for the most part.
Par for the course.
Yeah, no, Sterling killing us all with basically semi-blue, not semi-blue, little flips or whatever they're calling it.
All bad cards, Kinnan. It's ABC Kinnan.
He did say that.
He did
ABC
say that.
Kinnan, all bad cards. There's the Kalia out there, the Rona. There's all this kind of off-meta stuff you're not used to seeing. And if you're not used to seeing these decks, they can blitz you.
Max P was killing it on Super Scroll. Which
dude, that is cool.
We heard rumblings of, but we weren't sure that that's what he would do.
I think we had it on the spreadsheet as running Super Scroll.
I think so, yeah.
There was like 3 or 4 different flavors of TNT out there that were all rolling around. Trying to think, obviously all the Ragia Shies were expected, but
sure.
Like when you look at the top 16, it was a lot of very interesting decks that you would not have, I would not have guessed would do very well at the Invitational. Not because they're bad decks, but just because, like we've said on the show before, when you see a deck that gets played very little, it's just because it's hard to be consistent on that deck unless you're just like a super expert.
Right.
So when you look at the top 16, and you see, obviously there was still a lot of Tymna all the way around, right? Like, but when you see decks like the Kalia, like the Hashaton, the Rona, the Cabbage Merchant, right? You basically have to be on top of your game. There's no room for error with some of these decks. Yeah. In the same way that, like, I feel like when you play Blue Farm, you have a little bit more wiggle room on screwing up. I know from experience that this is true. TNT, a little bit more of a flexible deck, and depending on your build especially. But, in the top 16, we did, in the top 4, we did have the one Timden Crom, the one Kinnan, which you'd expect. Or sorry, Sterling did run Kinnan, but his Kinnan was very much not what you'd expect. I think the other top 4 Kinnan, a little bit more of the traditional, kind of traditional Kinnan. It did still have some spice to it when we were looking at it, but for the most part, very traditional Kinnan cards, outside of a little bit of spice. There was the one Rog side that Dexter was running. Not shocking that Dexter, performed very well. The one Hashaton, which, again, this is a deck that I've never been super impressed with when I played it for a bit. It always felt like it was pulling in so many different directions that it felt weird. But I know Anthony's been cooking on this. So, and it's gotten some really interesting support. Like, I know the deck runs Grand now, which is interesting. Queen of Dale has probably been huge for that deck. Just because now you have another discard outlet. I actually don't know if they run Queen. looking at the deck here. Maybe they don't run queen. Oh, I could be wrong. It just feels like that'd be free in this deck, right? Maybe not. I mean, I don't play it, so I could be wrong. But there's just some really cool cards in here. Valvagoth, Villis, Razaketh, Runescar Demons, running some big boys and getting to do kind of the Ashadon thing. So I think that's, it's a really cool deck. Stacko on a pretty typical Turbo Timnacrom. I think Jason was on a pretty typical Turbo Crom. Nothing super out of the ordinary from these decks that you'd expect.
Right.
I think the only surprising thing was Jason wasn't on Goldhound or like Memnite. So we still had what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Timnacroms in the top 16. So
Yeah.
5 out of 16. So still a decent chunk of the meta.
A decent chunk of Blue Farm, but it didn't win again.
They did not win, and it wasn't. I want to say what last year was it? Was it more than 5? I want to say it was like 8, right?
It was a good chunk of the field. I don't remember how much of the field, but it was a good chunk of it.
Yeah, and I think last year, if I remember right, we also didn't have as many like out there decks.
No, it was very standard.
Right, like
Very, very standard.
if you would have guessed Cabbage Merchant, Super Scroll, Rona, Hashaton, and Kalia were your top 16, would anyone have guessed any of those decks? Probably
No.
not, right?
Definitely not.
The rest of them, pretty obvious, right? Timna Thras, Timna Crom,
Yeah, I mean,
Thras Vial would have put in there, especially with Kevin running it.
yep.
The one Roxai, of course,
The
as
lone
is
rock
tradition.
side.
As is tradition, but our only 2 Kinnons both top forward, which is pretty cool. I will say, surprised no Sisse made it.
I am too. But I think people were so
I'm not going to lose this Sisse.
right. They were so ready for it. And I mean, because, yeah, Swaney was the highest ranking Sisse player.
Shocker.
Right? And he said he played against all of the off-meta decks. Like, we looked at his Play Nice breakdown, and I think he saw literally every off-meta deck that was at this Invitational.
Right.
And his deck was just not a good matchup into those off-meta decks. He also said he saw 3 opposition agents, I believe, was his final count. So people were so keen on I'm not losing to Sisse at this Envy, and I think every Sisse player felt that.
Yeah. And it's not surprising. I mean, at the end of the day, I was worried going into this event that I was going to see a lot of opposition agents. So I was actually holding my green tutors a little bit more than I normally would, just because of the oppo potential. But I also didn't see a lot of black decks either.
True.
Like for me,
True.
I think the one game where like I was most worried about it was the game with Tyam and Blue Farm, but Blue Farm holding so low was just kind of like, oh, well, there's no way he kept it oppo.
Yeah.
So the whole game kind of turned on a dime like that. But for the most part, I didn't really see a lot of Timnacrom. I didn't see any of the other TNTs. Like I didn't have the mirror matches I expected, and I didn't see, like, even when I'm looking at a lot of these TNKs at the top here, I did not see them.
Yeah.
I played against a lot of Ragia Shy, it felt like. Lots of Ragia Shy. I played against a Dog Thras in my round 1.
Okay.
I do remember my round 1 now. It took me a minute.
It came back to you.
It came back to me. Yes. Round 1 was the round where I thought I won, but I'd made a deal that I didn't realize I'd made that lost, or that drew me the game. Because it was
CEDH politics at its finest.
It was a deal where we were losing to, what was in front of me? Was it a Dog Thras or was it a Rog Thras? It might have been a Rog Thras. Because I think it was
Cradle Pod?
I think it was a triple Cradle Pod.
That's
And I don't remember what the guy next to me was playing.
That's despicable.
But somebody had asked to put they could Noxious Revival my Brewmaster to the top of my deck. Because it had gotten countered. I had Devoted Druid in the graveyard. And they're like, are we playing for draw? And I said, yeah, like, I will cast the Brewmaster, I'll make infinite mana, and then we can draw. Right? Like, I hate it. I hate that we're in that position, but I'm blown out. That is the one draw I tried to force, right?
Okay.
Well, the Noxious got countered. So in my opinion, or in my head, I'm like, cool, I can no longer play for draw.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it got countered. So I'm just going to play.
You playing for draw was based on the Noxious resolving and the Hazel's going somewhere. That didn't happen, so you're not held to that.
That's what I believed.
That's valid.
Right? That's what I had thought. Because like, why would I play for a draw the rest of the game now if I can't do anything? Sure. Well, I did top deck Oboro, and I had to put together the craziest Oboro line to get it to work.
As one does, yes.
And I started going infinite, and then they were all like, yeah, we're going to scoop here and draw. Or like, I think they were like, yeah, we can stop you. We're just going to draw. And I was like, well, no, I'm winning. Like, this game's over. But he's like, I'm winning this game now. And then they're like, no, you said you were playing for draw. And I was like, yeah, only if my Brewmaster got.
Yeah.
Only if Brewmaster got on top. I never committed to like playing out the rest of the game for a draw.
Yeah.
Wires got crossed. It was enough of a. I felt like it would have left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. I didn't really want to start the day that way. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, you know what? I'll take the draw and hopefully karma pays me back later in this tournament. Mm-hmm. And it did. It did. Even Robert. Oh, that's who it was. It was Robert next to me. Mm-hmm. I think on Kinnan. He even told me after the game, he's like, you're a better man than me. He's like, I would have taken it. So, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. Like I said, karma did pay me back, I feel like.
Yeah.
In that tournament. So I can't complain too much. I still got the top 16. It was all said and done. But it was definitely a feels bad moment to start the tournament. And I was like, well, you know, between that and then what happened in my round 3, I was like, well, this is not my tournament.
Yep. Felt that.
So.
Felt that. Redemption was my tournament.
Yes. Talk about Redemption.
I put together a winning record in Redemption. So I ran out the same exact deck because I think Malcolm Vile was just poorly positioned in the Invi, as I knew it would likely be.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, screw it. I'm going into the Hari Yuya system. This uniquely benefits faster, more proactive decks. Everything is essentially round 1. Let's just go send it and see what happens. So round 1, I lost. I don't exactly remember the circumstances around my loss, but I know I lost. Round 2, I pieced together a win. And so, which round was
this the game with
2?
Was this game with Matt? Matt Hayes?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so, but I think, was this the round where I got the Glinthorn to resolve? No, this wasn't the round where I got the Glinthorn to resolve. I think I did a breach line as we were heading to time, and it got to a point, and this was the weird part about the Japanese point system. It got to a point where everyone was kind of like, no, this wasn't it. Sorry, I'm crossing my wires. That's a later round. This was the Glinthorn one. I think I had Lively Dirge on like 3. So it was Vexing Bauble on 1, Malcolm on 2, Dirge on 3.
Gross.
The only interaction that was out there was a Fierce and a Mental Misstep, but the person tapped out, and so and it tapped out. I had Bauble, so it was just like, yeah, Glinthorn GG's. Okay, so that was round 2. Round 3 was actually really funny because I got a Glinthorn to resolve, and there were 2 Vexing Baubles. There's a Ral, a Kinnan, and a Timna Dargo, and myself. I'm in seat 1 because I won the prior round. So I'm not sure how they were quite doing pairings, but...
Wait, winning got you into seat 1?
So that Lively Dirge Glinthorn game, I was in seat 1 for round 2, and then round 3 I was also in seat 1. And now I'm not sure if that's just the variance gods or
variance.
Because I won. Well, then I had seat 1 the next game as well.
But winning doesn't change that.
I had like 4 C1s in a row as I continued to win.
So that's the one critique that I heard about the Haryua system is, or I'm not sure if it's a Haryua system thing or if it was just the way they were doing this tournament, but that the seeding was truly random.
Okay.
So it did not
mine didn't feel random.
No, it did not take into so like normally, right? The seeding for a CEDH tournament is balanced, or it's supposed to be, to where it's weighed differently depending on where you've been sitting. So like, for example, if I sat seat 4 a couple times in a row, then it's going to start weighing into me sitting higher. Moving on, right?
Intriguing.
That's the whole point.
That's not what happened to me.
Well, the whole point is to try and balance the equation. Now, what I've heard, I'd have to talk to Duke to see like how, if that was true or not, but what people were telling me is it was truly random seating.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't take into account where you'd been sitting. It just re-rolled it every time. So you were just getting extremely lucky to get the seat 1 every time.
Cool.
And because it was never weighed, you have a basically 25% chance every round of getting seat 1. And you just kept rolling.
Variance shined upon me, but not in the end. So quick, sidebar, back to the Invi real quick. My seating, I believe 4, 4, 3, 2, 4. Not a whole seat 1, and don't quote me on those exact seatings, but it was a majority of seat 4, and there were no seat 1s, which was also awful for Grixis. Anyway, back to the redemption event. So round 3, it's myself, Kinnan, Ral, Timna Dargo. Kinnan and I look at each other and say, hey, can we be cool? So we agree to mulligan for interaction, all the usual things against turbo decks, whatever. I get to a point where I put a Glinthorn on the stack. There are 2 Vexing Baubles out. I know the likelihood of this Glinthorn landing is low, but I feel like I'm to a point where I need to force the issue because Ral didn't develop too quickly. And so Kinnan looks at me and says, I have a force of will. We would need to crack both Vexing Baubles, Timna Dargo's and mine, and we're going into Ral's turn. And I said, okay, I understand why you want to keep the Vexing Baubles. That's reasonable. You've shown me a force of will. How about this? There was a voice of victory on board, on Timna Dargo's board. I look at him and I say, how about this? I loot until I find an answer for the voice of victory, and I will not win right here. And he's like, and I get a turn. I'm like, sure, I won't born. You'll get a full turn. This is not a gotcha in any way. Let me loot until I find a solution. And of course, the other 2 turbo decks and 3 or 4 are like, no, you can't let her do this. You can't let her do this. This is objectively awful for you. You can't let her do this. And he's like, you know what? Deal. So I actually got to loot with Glinthorn until I found an answer for the voice of victory. The game kept going. Eventually, Glinthorn got bounced, and we all agreed that if I play it again, that's a new instance of Glinthorn, and I'm not scumming anybody. And so it gets to a point where Ral is trying to win. I believe the Kinnan player got a little greedy and gave them a bit too much leverage because they did let a Jessica's Will resolve, which I think could have lost us the game, but we had so much interaction between the 2 of us by the end, it was all right. And then time was called and I started to win on top. And when they saw the Born and the tutors, they were like, yeah, okay, you're good. We're good to call it here.
That was the game with Matt Hayes?
I don't think I had a game with Matt Hayes.
I thought he said no. Maybe it was somebody else.
I had a game with Jordan from Crit.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry, I got my people mixed up.
Yeah, you're good. So that was my round 3, where I successfully politicked looting with a Glinthorn. Insane work. Didn't think that would work. Round 4, I had a game with Jordan from Crit.
That's what it was. Sorry.
So I was in seat 1. A Crystal player was in seat 2. A semi-blue, kind of a mix of semi-blue and John Vick's Rogthras player was in seat 3, but they were a baby to CEDH. And then and then seat 4.
That's a hard list to play baby when you're new to CEDH too.
Yeah. And seat 4 was Jordan from Crit. And the Crystal player was also a grinder. I can't remember their name for the life of me. I'd need to look back at Topdeck. But the Crystal player was a grinder, and then it was Jordan and I. So the new CEDH player is just like, why am I in a pod full of killers? I don't understand. But it's a really high resource game where we all have draw engines. I teched in Volatile Stormdrake for this tournament, so there was a point where I Stormdraked the crystal away.
Ooh, nice.
They revealed Song of Creation in their hand, and the ability to pop off. So it was like, okay, hell no, you're not keeping your crystal. Jordan had Heuristic Study. I had Heuristic Study. Malcolm, a bunch of treasures. I was just kind of doing the slop thing and not slop. There was a point where I was tutoring when I had Crystal, and I just kind of looked at the table and said, y'all let a curiosity resolve? Can I do that? And they all said no, and I said, all right, fair enough, moving on. And the newer CEDH player was like, I love the way you guys politic. You're all being so reasonable with each other. And it's like, we know we can't give anybody too much leeway in this game. Yeah. But I start applying pressure to the Rogthras's life total. I don't remember what I had to do, so I don't know if it was a Bowmasters. I tutored for a Bowmasters with a Lively Dirge at one point to start pinging down his board. And that was the deal, was we'll let your Lively Dirge resolve. You can't push Glinthorn here. Go get something for the board. And I said, okay, fine. Got a Bowmaster, started pinging his life total down. He looks at me and he says, if you continue to pressure my life total, I'm going to push on my turn. I have no reason but to push the hardest that I can into Blue Farm and your draw engine. I said, wonderful. Please push into my draw engine. It gets to a point where he does exactly what he said. He pushed. Of course, we stop him because we have all the engines in the world. Goes to Jordan's turn in time. I'm countering everything he's doing. He's countering everything I'm doing. The other two players just kind of have a gentleman's agreement of like, hey, we don't have a stake in this game anymore. We don't have Born. We don't have the engines you guys have. We're going to sit out. We're not going to interact. We're going to yap over here. You and Jordan 1v1. Okay, cool. I'll take that. I'm countering things he's doing. Him and I are going back and forth. It gets to a point where the last spell on the stack is his Demcon. He names Underworld Breach. And I'm looking at more interaction in my hand, but I'm also looking at the clock ticking down. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, if he gets Breach, I don't even know that I'm going to fight this anymore. Because we're getting to a point where I don't want to cook him, and I don't know that I can present fast enough. So I'm like, all right, it resolves. Let's see it. Rips it, Underworld Breach. Exiles his whole library. I say, Valley Flood Caller. And they're all like, yeah, you've a Valley Flood Caller tutors. I'm like, yeah, you've got it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Which, once again, the really weird part about the Japanese system, once anybody was able to put themselves far enough ahead by the end, most tables were amenable to just saying, sure, you've got it, instead of trying to force it into a draw. Like, the Glinthorn scenario would 100% be a draw in any other game. Sure. Nobody's going to let me loot. Nobody's going to do that shit. They're going to say, I can force you here and we let the Ral win, or we lose. Or I'm not going to force her Glinthorn and y'all can lose. And they just force it into a draw. And you just can't do that in this Japanese point system. Then my last round, I think Blue Farm just kind of had everything, and I got overly threat assessed that whole game. My Malcolm got nuked for really it was just not a great game for me, and it was a lot of new players that just kind of over threat assessed Malcolm, and when Blue Farm very clearly had everything.
Sure.
And it got to a point where I got combat damage to death. I left the table, but the player afterwards told me if I had stayed and not been killed and tried to play through my line with, the flash speed that I would have had or whatever, that I probably could have won that game because he tutored for something improperly that he shouldn't have tutored for. So I think it was a Pyre of Heroes, and he searched for something improper on Pyre that he couldn't have searched for.
Oh, and you didn't catch it?
I had left the table because I got combat damaged out.
Oh, he did this before you, or he did this after you had died?
He killed me and then proceeded to execute an incorrect line. But he said he wouldn't have killed me and would have let me do my flash situation had he known he couldn't have tutored for the thing.
Gotcha.
And he apologized to me afterwards. It wasn't really that deep to me. It's redemption. It is what it is. But the thing I didn't like about the Japanese point system is because for some reason I was sitting in a table with a bunch of people with no wins. Even though I had 3 wins, which feels diabolical. And so he took a good chunk of my points. And there was a point between round 3 and 4 where even though I won that round, I went from 5 to 10. And then going into round 5, I was number 10. And losing those points rocketed me all the way down to 18. So even though my record for the day was 3 and 2, there were 2, 2, and 1 people that were ahead of me, even though I had more wins. And that just feels incorrect.
I mean, that
just feels bad.
That is the long time criticism of the Haruya system, that it overly punishes early wins and overly rewards late wins.
Yes.
Right? So,
yes.
Yeah, and
And losing round 1 was brutal for me, I guess.
Well, it's also just it feels unfair too when you're sitting there with, like, let's say you win every round. Like, let's say there's 3 players that win every round, right? I know it's not realistic, but let's just pretend this happens. And depending on who they've played, they're going to have vastly different scores. And there's nothing as a player that I can control. And I think that's the biggest issue that players have, is losing control of a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to, like, go down an opposition win percentage, but at least you know the more you win, the higher your opposition win percentage should theoretically be, because you're going to be, you know, playing against the other winners.
Yeah.
But in the higher US system, you're playing random every single round. So you could play people you could spend the whole day playing against people who did not win a single round. And if you played against the person that played against someone that won every round, they're going to have significantly more points than you. Like, by a significant enough margin to where it's like, how, but there's nothing I can do.
Yep.
I can only play the people that are in front of me.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's one of the old school criticisms of the system.
Yeah. Feels bad. Because in a Swiss, 15 points is great in any normal Swiss game.
Yeah.
But in any normal Swiss game, I'm probably realistically looking at maybe 10 points, because at least one of those games would have been forced to a draw over the Glinthorn.
And it creates weird.
So it's weird, it's weird. But traditionally, 15 points is more than enough to be top 10 in Swiss, if not top 5.
I think it was good for the format to see a live,
Yes.
like, big scale Haru event, to see the weaknesses and strengths of the system.
Especially for the copers that are just, headlong. This is the superior system. This is what American CEDH needs to be doing. Y'all are wrong. And we got to see a firsthand test case of why that isn't necessarily true.
Yeah. I mean, there's strengths and weaknesses to both systems.
Exactly.
What system do you prefer after playing in both?
Ooh. So in my head, there are 3 options. It's the 501, 701, and Japanese. I liked what the Invi did. I like
701.
wins being weighted more.
That's fair.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, no, I didn't play the Haru system, so it's hard for me to have an opinion.
No, that's valid.
But I will say, I did not hear
you didn't end up in redemption.
My bad. Too busy winning. But I did not hear a single positive statement on the system until very late Sunday, where a couple people were like, I didn't mind it.
Oh, I loved it up until I lost round 5 and basically lost everything. Yeah, I was thriving. It was like, oh, Grixis feels great in this. I don't know the last time I've said Grixis feels great. And then I lost everything in a weird loss in round 5, and it was like, never mind, this shit sucks.
I will say, I do think it heavily incentivizes turbo in the same way that the restarts in Europe heavily incentivize turbo play.
Yes, it does.
And I don't know that I necessarily like that.
It's valid.
But I'm a mid-range player, so obviously I'm super biased.
I was going to say, you're not incentivized to play table police at all.
But I think that's my
That's
fear.
Your issue with it. Yeah.
Well, my fear
and it's a
is,
very valid issue.
because at its core, right, and this is always what I fear about turbo metas, is that at their core, they create very unfun games, because there's nothing worse, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I will sit through 3 hours of Ristic hell rather than lose on turn 2. Losing on turn 2 sucks. Like, it's not fun, right? Like, I spend more time pulling my deck out of my box, sitting down, shuffling, mulliganing than I do actually playing the game. And there's not a worse feeling in the world than tournaments where it happened to me in Pittsburgh, right? Where took me 3 or 4 games before I saw a turn 4. And that's not enjoyable. That's sitting down seeing 2 games of Magic, and then, or two rounds in 2 games of Magic, because you keep getting turn 2'd every round, is just like, well, why did I show up if I'm just going to get varianced out? And my problem with turbo at its core, like a turbo meta, is that it's so seat dependent.
It is.
Right? Like, seat 1 turbo,
it is.
Just feels great when you're the turbo player and awful when you're not the turbo player.
Yeah.
Right? Because then there are plenty of games where I've sat seat 4 against a turbo deck in seat 1 and did not play the game. Right? I have died so many times by going land, dork, pass, lose. And there's nothing I can do about it, right? Because either I take a turn off by not playing my dork to hold up my 1 piece of counter magic, which maybe is like a swan song or something. And then,
macro,
right.
Yeah.
And then, maybe I get to counter it, but now I've taken a turn off from the worst seat in the game.
Yep.
So I have to hope that the two people in front of me played responsible, which sometimes
Chances
they do.
are they didn't.
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But
Yeah.
That creates a weird variance in there. I think the best format or the best way the format is when they're balanced, right? When there's like a rock paper scissors tension to the game,
100%.
and which is that's what I think is happening right now, right? Like Sterling is a great example of how I think the format is really, really well balanced and healthy, where his creature combo deck takes the rock paper scissors metagame right now to its logical extreme, which is traditional turbo decks beat the creature combo decks, which you can think of like your Tree Farm, Rogthras, Sisay, his Sterling's Flipskin list, right? These decks that are very, very hard to interact with, but they're a little slower. They take time to set up. But those decks beat the slop decks because those decks don't have to play into the Rhystic Study too much. They don't feed in the same way that Turbo Storm decks do, right? They sit there, they accrue value, and then they win through weird ways that don't interact with Rhystic Study or Smothering Tithe or whatever in any real capacity that allows those decks to fight them.
True.
And then slop decks generally beat Turbo. Not always, right? It doesn't always happen this way. Like obviously there are decks that still do it, but generally slop beats Turbo because you get the early, obviously the signpost deck for slop is Rog Ishai. Sure. You get out the early Rog, you hold up a little bit of interaction because this deck runs a gazillion interaction spells. You stop the Turbo deck, you play control, you get your engines down, and you control the game, right? So I like the tension that currently exists within the meta. But every game Sterling lost was to a Turbo deck, right? He went 5-3, and he went 3-3 in Swiss, right? So in every game he lost because Turbo just got there first.
I think the rock, paper, scissors tension that you mentioned, though, is really skewed against Turbo right now. Like, and I've heard a lot of Turbo players saying it, is just Turbo feels awful right now.
I don't know that that's true, though. I mean, look at the top 16, right? You have a Kalia, which is a Turbo deck, Rog Sai, which is obviously a Turbo deck. You had Stacko's Turbo Timnocrom.
Stacko added some slop to that, though.
But it's still, at its core, it's still Turbo Timnocrom. I think Aaron Joseph was on Turbo Timnocrom. Rona was able to kind of be a Turbo deck and or be a little bit more control.
It flip-flopped.
I watched it mostly go fast.
Yeah.
And every game I heard that Sylvie won was basically going fast.
I did hear of turn 2 Thoracles, but also any Demir shell can do that.
Well, in our game, she had a turn 3 win with doing the Retraction Helix combo. So,
yeah.
Turbo was fine, right? Like, Turbo, and, you had a Halana Timna, which I guess is more creature combo.
That's not really Turbo.
Zerda on 20th, right there. And, you had Timnocrom at 27th, another, a Turbo Timnocrom. So, there were plenty of people that were doing just fine. I do think Turbo is the weakest of the three currently.
Yeah,
that's
I feel like Turbo is uniquely bad. I'm not even bad, right? But just it feels the worst right now out of all the archetypes because I think both creature combo and slop tell it no.
I don't agree with that.
Creature combo typically has the interaction as well. At least one.
It depends on the creature combo deck. A lot of them go greedy because they have to get all their stuff out to set up. I mean, I'm greedy with my TNT a lot.
Depends.
If you push turn 2 against my TNT, a lot of games I don't have anything.
Oh, lovely. Good to know.
Unless it's playing against you specifically.
Yeah, I know.
Because you always push turn 2.
I know.
So
you'll say screw me specifically.
Yes, every time. All right, let's jump into. We've spent a lot of time on this topic, and I know we're running out of time a little bit. So let's jump into questions.
Questions.
All right. Questions are brought to you by Purple Fox Shop. You can go to their website here or use code Monolith when checking out for 10% off your order. They make all sorts of really cool 3D printed knickknacks, tokens that are all custom made by Lori, one of the owners of Purple Fox Shop. So definitely check them out. Tell them we sent you. Buy our cats. The cat tokens are Luna and Athena are cats. So
and Nova coming soon.
Yes, and Nova hopefully coming soon. But definitely, I think most of the animals are actually based on somebody's.
I think they are.
At least the pet ones.
Yeah.
I know someone's dogs.
They are.
Or it's Kayla's dogs.
Yeah,
right?
Kayla's dogs.
So, check them out. She does a really great job. Really talented artist. So check out her work.
All right, our first question is from Simpanzi. Hello, love the video. I would like to ask a question. I'm currently in a rut with my list, and I haven't won a game in 2 weeks. I know it's not me, as I've made top cut in multiple events and bubbled a lot. Just wondering if there's any way to get out of this dry spell.
Yeah. So Lily and I have been in these ruts before, right? These cold streaks. The first thing is you got to be self-critical. It is you, right? Like at the end of the day, you have to be responsible for your own mistakes that are happening because they are happening, right? If you're not winning consistently, it's not because of variance. It's not because of the cards didn't give me what I wanted, whatever, right? Because, if you're having a couple tournaments that are bad here and there, that's okay. You chalk that up to variance. If it's been consistent ruts for weeks and weeks and you're not even winning a single game, that's because you're making the mistake. So you have to be self-critical and look at yourself and see, what am I doing wrong, right? Is it my mulligans? Is it my politicking? Did the meta change and my deck didn't catch up? Do I need to make changes to adapt to the new meta? There's a variety of things that you can look at. But the first thing, and I think it's the thing that a lot of Magic players really struggle with, is being able to look at a game critically and be able to analyze where you went wrong within that game and then be able to figure out how to correct mistakes. I think too often I hear, oh, if I would just had next turn, oh, it was just luck, oh, I just got unlucky, which does happen, right? I'm not going to say it doesn't, right? We were talking about my games earlier, right? 90 or 89% chance of winning, and I didn't draw it, right? Other games where stuff went wrong didn't get there. But there's a difference when you can look at a game and say, I played it cleanly versus, oh, I made mistakes here and here, or, oh, I kept a bad hand. It's like my top 16 game against Sterling is a good example of this, right? He had the absolute nuts. But I also didn't keep a good enough hand to stop what he was doing. I probably should have mulled more aggressively, and I kept us too slow of hand for what he was doing. And I knew that pod was going to move quickly. Like, I wasn't blind to that. And I knew being one of the only blue players in the pod was going to be tough, right? Doesn't have really blue in his deck. He's not running counter magic. Charles has very little interaction being a mono green deck. Sylvie wants to go fast. So if she does have interaction, it's going to be to attempt to protect her own win. I have to be, if I'm going to be slower and responsible, like I have to decide, am I going to be slow, then I need to keep a very responsible hand, or if I'm going to try and move quick. And I ended up falling somewhere in the middle where I didn't go quick enough and I wasn't responsible enough to stop anything, right? So that's a mistake of mulligans. And that's where you have to have you have to be able to be self-critical and analyze where you're gone wrong and fix that. But if you're constantly going to blame everyone else around you, or blame your deck, or blame this, that, or the other, you're not going to improve as a player.
Right.
So growth opportunity.
That's true. And sometimes it is, as a person that's been in many a rut, sometimes it's also a mental thing, right? Where you're looking at mulligans that you would traditionally keep, or mulligans that you should ship away, and you think, oh, well, maybe this will work out, or, oh, this hasn't been working out. So you ship away a hand that would work for you. You ship away a good hand, and you think, oh, this deck just hasn't been working out for me. I haven't been winning games, right? And it's that mental game you start playing with yourself, where you start second-guessing yourself, you start second-guessing the deck list, and it just becomes this really negative, self-fulfilling prophecy where it's, oh, I'm not winning games, and then you take actions and mulligans or whatever that don't win you games because you've got into the habit of second-guessing it. Yeah,
it's like an insidious cycle of like, I'm not winning, I don't feel like it's my fault, and then you don't make the changes, and then you fall back into it, and then you get uncomfortable during games, you press because you're desperate for wins, which only makes the situation worse. Like, you just got to relax, enjoy the game. I feel like finding the fun has always been important for me whenever I feel like I'm getting into a rut. As soon as I find the fun again, I start doing well. It's magic, because then I'm playing looser. I'm playing, with the skill that I know I have. And just you find the wins that way.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Noah Bell 11. Hey guys, question for Jordan. Are both Queen of Dale and Gleaming Splendor tree farm cards? That's funny. You talked about them earlier.
Yeah, I think Queen of Dale is a significant overperformer in the deck. It feels fantastic. Gleaming Splendor, I didn't really get to test too much. It did come down in a game. I think it made me a few treasures. Funny enough, I actually think it was it made me just enough treasures to win my round 6 because one player decided to draw a card that he probably shouldn't have drawn. But that was the only game I saw it, so it was fine that game. I don't know that it's worth it yet. Is what I'll say. I do think it's good though. I've heard from other people that they were getting lots of treasures off there. So small sample size so far. It looks good though. I'd say it is also an alternative win con for the deck. That's better than Fairy Mastermind, which is also good.
Yeah, we talked about that when you were editing.
Yeah, because once you go under a Grand Abolisher and Sans effects, being able to draw at your opponents is just another good way to, especially losing Thoracle. You know, right now it's like big one is Emil Flicker with Bowmaster kill people, or you're finaling and killing people. Right. So having like a third way to just end the game on the spot, really nice.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. Last question for the episode. This is from Atticus. EDH influencers and 60 card players are constantly pointing out what they think is wrong with CEDH. I'd like to flip that question. What do you think CEDH is getting right? What's your elevator pitch to a casual Commander player or even someone who primarily plays another card game on why they should give CEDH a try?
So I think there are 5 main reasons. First, it's the most community driven from what I've seen. I don't, and again, I could be wrong because I obviously play CEDH more, but when I do dip my toes into Standard and Modern, I don't feel like the communities are as connected. A lot of people play online. The only people that are really known are like the high level players on like the pro teams and the people who make the pro tour. But like, there are people I know in CEDH that I wouldn't consider, they're grinders, and you wouldn't, but they're not top whatever, they're not top 16 every tournament. They love to show up, they love to play Magic, and they go for their friends and they go for the good times, but they aren't players that are consistently, you would say, are like consistently top players.
Sure.
And seeing those people show up and getting to talk to them, right, is really fun. And when I go to like a Magic Con and there's so many people, you just don't get the same vibe. Like there's not the same sense of community, I think.
That's true.
Outside of, and CEDH might lose that one day as it grows bigger. But for now, I do feel like the community is really good. I think the games are less sweaty, which I know sounds like a shock to people because CEDH gets this huge bad vibe of like, the 11-hour game, bullshit, whatever, right? But like the worst Magic playing experience I've ever had are all 60 card. Every single bad Magic experience that I would rank in my top 10 worst Magic experiences, every single one of them is 60 or 40 card, whatever.
Yeah.
It's 1v1.
Yep.
For all the talk about how this format is toxic and all this other stuff, and you would think with 4 players, and sometimes things get heated, and we know there are toxic politicers in the format, and some have come and gone, some are still very prominent. I still have had a more miserable time playing in 1v1 where there are no politics, but the players are just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but the players are just, they're so try hard and they're so sweaty and they get so pissy at everything.
They're way more abrasive than CEDH could ever.
Yeah.
And I think we benefit more from being a social format, right? Like if you're that abrasive off rip in a CEDH pod, nobody's going to let your shit resolve. Nobody's going to give you wiggle room. And nobody's going to talk to you about anything. Yeah. And in 60 card or 40 card, they don't have to care about that. They don't care about their political capital or leverage. You just play your spells. And
you can be an asshole as much as they want. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I do appreciate. Like, think of the most abrasive politiker I guarantee there are 60 card players that are worse, way worse. Like not like even like, slightly worse, whatever, like in the same realm. I mean like significantly worse to where you never hope to see them ever again because they are that bad. There's no one in CEDH that I've ever played. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think this is true. There's no one in CEDH I've ever played where I always said, I never want to play against this person specifically because of their politics. Yeah. Right? Like, if I don't want to play against someone, it's probably because of other things that were happening. Yeah. Where it was just like, this is a miserable game for other reasons. But like, even in CEDH, that's rare. Like, there's only 1 or 2 people that I don't like playing against in CEDH. That like, I truly would love to avoid them at every situation. And it's mostly because I either highly suspect they cheat, or they're known to cheat, or have cheated. Or they've been assholes outside of the game. Because I can, maybe, and this is just me, I can tolerate maybe a little bit even of like the aggressive politicking in game because I get it. We're all trying to win. We're all doing our thing. But as long as we can walk away from the game cool and chill with each other afterwards, then nothing's that deep. But I've had people be extremely rude and aggressive and asshole-ish in the same way 60-card players are outside of games to me in CEDH, but it's only happened. There's only like a couple people that's happened to.
Right.
And I would just rather not deal with those individuals in any capacity.
Right.
So for the most part, CEDH players are just nicer and more enjoyable, and the games are more fun. I think the the format is so unique, right? And like, in so many ways, right? So like, it's just such a different game. So if you want to try something that's very different, that still you still get to play Magic and it still feels like Magic, but it is also very different than 60 card. You know, it's very fun. I think the game has a lot of strategy and tactical finesse to it that 60 card just doesn't have.
That's true.
I will also say the variance feels lower in CEDH, which in some ways, in terms of like,
Yeah.
I have never been mana screwed in CEDH unless I've kept a awful hand.
Interesting.
But even when I have kept sevens in 40 or 60 card, and I've kept, you know, the optimal percentages of lands versus whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I still feel like every fucking tournament, I get at least 2 games to where I either go draw nothing but creatures or I draw nothing but lands. And sure, could it be that my opponents are cheating and they're, you know, they're doing the stupid shuffle flip thing, which is another thing, right? We'll get to that. Could that be happening? Sure. Do I think that that's what's happening? No, I think I just get unlucky as shit.
Yeah.
But in CEDH, that never fucking happens, right? The game is not set up in a way in which mana screw happens in the same way, or at least that's consistently, especially if you build correctly and you mull correctly.
Okay.
Which leads me to number 4. You'll have some of the most fun stack battles that just don't happen in 60 card, which again, the game is just, it's almost more complicated than any 60 card battle will ever be. And I think there's an enjoyment to that. Like navigating complicated stacks is a lot of fun.
And you won't even get that in other card games either, right? They mentioned other card games too. Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have that. Like we know I used to be a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh nerd. Yu-Gi-Oh just doesn't have that mechanism, right? You have
it used to not. I think it does now.
You have the chain.
Well, sure.
I think that's what it was called. It was the chain, but even that didn't operate the same way as a Magic stack did.
Sure.
Like Magic has such unique stack battles.
CEDH especially.
Yeah.
And then the last one, I think, you know, do we have cheaters in CEDH? Sure. I think they're extraordinarily rare, especially compared to 40 card. I think the one of makes things really tough.
It does.
In the deck. We don't shuffle each other's decks in CEDH.
No.
And really, the only time I've ever shuffled someone's deck is if I suspect them or I've heard that they're a cheater.
Right.
Right. I'll pick it up and I'll shuffle it a little bit, or I'll ask somebody else to make sure it's well shuffled.
Right.
But I feel like, you know, outside of like palming your first 7 and putting it on top, it's pretty hard to like shuffle cheat a 100 card deck in the same way that I've seen 60 card players. You know, there's a bazillion cheats on 60 card players of all the shuffle cheating they've done.
Right.
And I do think it's just harder in CEDH. I could be wrong. Maybe there's way more cheaters, but whenever I play, I don't feel like I can name, there's like a list, right, of known cheaters in my head.
Yeah.
Or people that I highly, highly suspect, and it's not very long.
Right.
Right. Whereas it feels like every game of 60 card I've played, at least one tournament, I get a game that's just so weird that you're like asking yourself afterwards, like, what happened? Yeah. And even or it's like people were doing like scooping to each other to force other people out, like that kind of cheating. I don't know if that's cheating, but it still feels bad.
Or just the actual cheating scandals that come out of it where people get caught doing it in out rounds and you realize they've been screwing people all tournament.
Yeah, CEDH, the only time it seems like we have cheating scandals is when people are playing online.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
Where people are doing like obvious cheats that you would never get away with in person.
True.
But like the in-person cheats are always like really hard to catch. Like if they are happening, those people have to be doing some impressive, you know, close-up magic tricks.
It's true.
Because otherwise I just don't know how people are doing it, you know. I think palming is probably just the easiest one. You're palming your first 7 to make sure you have a gas 7 after, you know, cuts have been offered. Because otherwise, how are you consistently hitting the cards you need, especially with a deck cut, especially a good deck cut. Yeah, so for the most part, I think that's all the reasons to be playing CEDH is it's fun. For all the other shit, the only reason to ever do anything when it comes to a hobby is because it's fun. So if 60 card players moan, bitch, and complain about CEDH, who cares? It's fun. I like it, and I'll be playing it until there's nobody left to play with. Only time that there'll be no more CEDH players is if I'm dead. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I got to be long dead for CEDH to not exist anymore.
It's very
in any capacity.
It is a lot of fun too. Like it's.
Oh, and the decks are so unique. That's the other thing. 60 card. I mean, look at Standard. Standard has been oscillating between like the same 3 decks with like a slightly different taste, every few months for the last couple years, right? Like Lessons is basically, it's kind of changed as bans happen, but let's be real, it also hasn't changed. Like Mono Green was dominant for a long time, but like Blue Red's been dominating for how long now?
That's true. I also like the complex mulligan decisions that comes with
CEDH.
The singleton situation versus a 60 card situation. Right. I found the couple instances I've had to touch 60 card or 40 card to just be extremely boring from a card selection standpoint and a mulligan standpoint.
Because the decks are so consistent.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. With all that, we can move into the meta.
Sounds good.
We have our events, which will be brought to you today by Play Nice. So you can go to Play Nice to track all your stats, your wins, your losses, your heartbreaks, your triumphant moments, your hands, anything like that. Like this tracks really, really strong data. Is really, really good for analyzing and figuring out like where am I going wrong in my games? What am I seeing happen? When I coach players, I always end the session with start tracking your games in this. And the reason why is when you start to get an idea of how you are playing in your games, then you can start to make improvements upon your gameplay. If you're not tracking anything and you're just trying to make guesstimations off the top of your head, and you're anything like me, where I've dumped everything that I've thought and learned in that game as soon as the game is over, then you get nothing out of it. So this is one of the best tools on the market for it. They're obviously great sponsors of Monolith, and I cannot recommend this enough for tracking your data, understanding where your games are going wrong for yourself. And if you want to improve as a player, take advantage of this tool. It is fantastic. And then in October, we have the Collectible Ventures SNL Mage's Sanctum 10K Birthday Bash, which will be a really cool tournament hosted in Waco, Texas. So Lily and I will be coming out for this one, hosted by the CEDH the Stack Never Lies CEDH group. Should be a really fantastic event. Really excited for it as well. I know that some of the Pinnacle guys are also coming out for it, so maybe we'll get a little Monolith versus Pinnacle action going on again. But again, I think this will be another incredible event. Always good to go out to Texas and get a chance to compete for a 10K. So yeah, hope to see you guys there in Waco, Texas. All right, so we are going to do the Breach the Bay 2, like we said, one of the largest events hosted by Merlion Games and Doot Loot. And from what I heard, the Haryua system notwithstanding, that it mostly ran pretty smoothly. People still seem to really enjoy playing Magic. Yep. They weren't super big fans of the point system, but for the most part, still very much enjoyed the tournament. It was, from what I've heard, very well run. Obviously, we didn't play in it, so we didn't know. But I will say, I have not heard a lot of negative things from it. So because of the Haryua system, I did expect this one to be a little bit weirder, and it wasn't actually as weird as I thought.
Not too weird.
Like there were some weird decks, which we'll talk about, but for the most part, not so weird. But we had Andre winning another tournament. This is the guy I think who won with Ululek, if I remember correctly. But taking down this tournament on Witherbloom the Balancer. Yep. Which is a very, very strange deck that I never would have expected to win. If you don't know what this card does, it is a 6 green-black legendary creature, Elder Dragon, 5/5. It has affinity for creatures, which means that This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control. It has flying, death touch, and then instant sorcery spells you cast have affinity for creatures. So obviously the point of this deck is to get as many creatures as possible, make your dragon super cheap, cast them, and then win with big sorceries. So things like Beseech the Queen, Last March of the Ents, your Culling Rituals, your X Greed Tutors all do pretty good work here to help you kind of win the game. Court of Calling obviously coming in big as well. So, lets you do some really unique stuff from that perspective. It's got the Hoarding Broodlord line that you'd expect. So very interesting deck from that perspective. Basically just a really turbo green-black kind of gas deck that just goes. Perfect for a Haru style system.
Oh, for sure.
So cool deck. And then we had our teammate Corin in second with Timnacrom. His Timnacrom is pretty standard. We had Bobby Rhombus in third with Marnius, and then Jess on Crick. Again, I think I'm not surprised to see like these pure turbo decks. This is the perfect format for them.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. We had Benamar on Animar.
Benamar on Animar.
I feel like we made that joke.
I love that.
Again, another like creature combo turbo deck.
Yeah.
Daniel Tran was running his Jagantha Sisse.
Gigantha Sisse.
Gigantha, whatever.
He was talking to me about this list.
It's turbo.
And with every game essentially being round one in perpetuity, he ate so good in Swiss.
And that's the thing, right? Is turbo just eats these decks alive.
It does.
We had and then from here it's funny because it gets a little bit more generic. We had Kinnan, Yoshi Thras. We did have another Super Scroll, so Super Scroll top 16 in 2 events.
Okay.
We had a Sisse, we had a Timnothras, we had a Kinnan, an Arkham Daxon, which isn't super unique. And actually, I think this is another deck that would eat Swiss alive. Mm-hmm. We had Rog Thras, a Timnacrom, and a Timnacrom. So, looking at the top 16.
Aside from a Spice, pretty solid. Yeah. Solid traditional CEDH meta.
What is cool is this was a cut to 64, so there were 2 out rounds. Yes. So there were players that had some really strong records that did not win their top 64 to get up here. But ultimately, it's hard to take anything away from this meta, and like, how is it going to be incorporated? Like, do we expect to see Witherbloom the Balancer take off? No.
Probably not, no.
Do I expect to see more Cricks running around? Maybe a little, just because the Crick community loves their Crick. But
maybe,
to be honest, no, I don't expect more.
Probably not.
I think this is a very unique tournament with a very unique ecosystem that probably is not very replicable from a meta standpoint. I think people correctly guessed that the weirder the deck and harder to play, the better your chances were when you have 430 players and every round is basically round one, where what we call the Swiss swamp sometimes, right? Where you get to prey on, for a lack of better words, and try not to be rude, but
less experienced individuals.
Right. The less skilled players, the players that, haven't picked up the game the same way.
Yeah.
And so that does allow weird decks to prey upon those players and get away with stuff that if you were playing a normal tournament, right, you win a couple rounds. Like that's why, we call turbo decks Swiss killers sometimes, like Rogsai, because you can take advantage of weaker players. And when you have a tournament like this, where you never have to play the stronger players in theory, right? If you have a good run where you never play against strong players, it's very easy to rack up a ton of wins very easily. And you never have to worry about running into, getting into round like 3 and 4 where you have a couple wins and then you start running into the other players with a couple wins. And now all of a sudden, the people who are all playing very well for that day are having to like beat up on each other now.
Yeah.
They never had to worry about that.
And that's why I think the top 16 is a bit more balanced, right? We have the turbo at the top with Crick and Witherbloom, right? Where, a little bit greedier strategies. But for the most part, in the top 16, we saw the more standard CEDH strategies kind of rise through the top 64 games, right? Because then at that point, all right, we need a little bit more skill. We need different threat assessment. We can't start looking at this as round one. We're out of the Swiss swamp. Now it's a mindset shift.
Yeah, because there were a lot of weird decks in the top 64. We saw everything from like Orvar to Longshot to Fairy, Balin the Haymaker. Like there were some odd decks that were in the top 64 that did not convert to 16. So it was ultimately like, it's a cool meta. I would have been interested. I wish I could have played both. But there was no way
Clone
to.
yourself.
There's no way.
Put a Jordan in the Open and a Jordan in the Invi.
Would have been cool. It would have been cool to like get to see these decks and play against some really cool spice.
Yeah.
But it did feel like looking through the meta, this meta was very spicy. We saw a lot, like just scrolling through.
I mean, it's everywhere, right? Like it's
there were so many unique decks in this.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Again, not a lot to take away, but do you want to, congrats our winner for taking on a 430 person player event? And like we said, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's no small feat.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it's still a huge accomplishment.
And you want 2 out rounds on Witherbloom. Like, let's not,
Yeah.
take nothing away. This player played extremely well. Andre's a good player, though. I mean, if you don't take down a big tournament on Ululek, unless you're already a strong player.
Yeah.
And taking a cool deck like Witherbloom, like something very unique, is not super surprising. So
True.
congrats to our top players, and cool breakdown.
Yep.
All right, well, I think that's all we're going to have time for today. It was good to get back in the studio. I know we've been slack-a-lacking again on content. Life's been a little hectic, plus trying to get everything wrapped up together before the Invi.
Yeah. And we went to California early, so.
Well, that was the other issue.
Yeah.
So now that that's all done, we should be back into our normal cadence. Hopefully, life doesn't throw any more curveballs our way, but we should, in theory, be back to normal. Nothing crazy should be happening from here. And hopefully should be back to consistent weekly content.
Yep.
We got some cool stuff planned, stuff that we had planned before, but kind of got pushed to the side as we were prepping stuff and trying to get everything ready. So look forward to getting that out finally. Just make sure you guys join the Discord. I think that's where we're obviously taking more of our questions lately. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to be a little bit more active in there again and generate some conversations. We're also going to be looking at revamping our content a little bit around the short form stuff. So expect to see us a little bit more active on the Instagram and TikTok. I think that's where we explored. We're going to be kind of doing a little bit more stuff. So we're hoping it's not just going to be cutting content from our video. We'd actually like to try and do some unique stuff on the TikTok, but Lily and I are still trying to figure that out. So we will, once we do, we will start getting that posted. From there, make sure to subscribe, all the fun stuff. We also, of course, have the Monolith coaching channel where you can get coaching from myself. I'm trying to convince Lily to open up her coaching, and she'll do that when she has time. But also, if you're interested in getting coaching from any of our other Monolith players that are in here, please do so by reaching out through the Discord. And then we should be back, like I said, to our normal cadence next week. And am I missing anything?
I think you're good.
Yeah. So appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for the people who did stop by and say hi. We do really appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing everybody at the next few tournaments that we're going to be at. So for everybody else, see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.